Now that you've got your MIDI device and track set up, let's take a look at how to record and edit MIDI data to them. Like I mentioned in the last video, just make sure that you've turned on this record input monitoring so that you can hear your instruments. First, let's take a look at how to program in and edit MIDI data. Now, if you take this track and expand it, you'll see it now shows you this piano roll editor view. When I click on this, I can hear all the different sounds that are sampled across this instrument. And if I drag these, it zooms in or zooms out, and I can also move this to different ranges along that keyboard. Also, if you've got the draw tool selected, you can draw in a MIDI region. So there is your MIDI region. And with the draw tool still selected, you can now draw in MIDI notes. So if I just go onto the piano editor, I can draw in a note. And when I play this back with the track soloed, that's not playing anything. So this is another important thing that you just need to make note of. When you're playing back MIDI, you need to turn off this record arm button. Now, if you take a listen, cool, so that's a tom. I can draw in another tom, and this just draws in those notes for me. If I click and drag, I get an extended MIDI note. So that's how to make longer MIDI notes. And also, here's another handy tool. If you use your scroll wheel on the mouse, that changes the velocity for that note. So this is just a very quick way to go in and do velocity editing. Just hover over the notes, change the velocity, and you can see you get callouts. So that text is showing you the MIDI note, its channel, and its velocity. Let's just drag this so we get the area a bit bigger. Now, if you hover over the right area, you can also extend out the note there. You can see it's showing you how many beats it's adding. So that's just to edit the note length. If for some reason you can't see your MIDI, it might be that you're out of focus or you might be in a different area in your arrangement. And just use this area over here to drag to where you can see that MIDI. And also remember, you can use these to zoom in or zoom out to focus in on that MIDI data. Also, these MIDI notes, they are snapping because we have snapping enabled. Plus, you can change the size of the notes. You can see I've gone all the way down to 30-second notes, and I've got smaller notes there. But if I go to a bar, this should now create a full bar for me. There's 21. If I just zoom in a bit further, and maybe let's try another thing. If you choose no grid, then you can just place these notes wherever you want, and it's not going to be snapping to anything. So if you take a note and want to move it, it's not snapping to the grid, as you can see there. But I think it's always good to program your MIDI to a grid because then everything is going to be on time. I'm just going to remove these notes. I can just select them and delete them. And I'm going to enable the grid at quarter notes. That's a good value to work at. And you can see that grid more clearly now. If you right-click on your track, you can also choose a different note mode. You've got sustained or percussive. Now, it's set to sustained, so let me show you something. If I draw in a note, let's say like that, you can see the length of it. For example, if you're playing piano notes, this note would be sustained longer. But because this is a drum track, you can actually use percussive notes. So when you change to that mode, it just shows you the hits because all you're actually concerned with drums is where the transient is for those notes. So this is quite a nice way of working if you're using drums. Just switch over to the percussive mode so you don't have to worry about note lengths. You're just seeing where all those transient hits are for the drums. So that's your basic MIDI program and editing. Now, let's take a look at how to record some MIDI in. So on this drum track, I'm going to make sure that I've turned on the record arm again so that I can hear them. And I just want to zoom out to see where I want to record. Okay, so I've got these loop markers set at verse 2 to chorus 2, but I think I can actually start from verse 1. So let's just create a loop area. But actually thinking about it a bit more, I actually don't want to, I want to do some loop recording. I just want to record from the start. So let's just zoom in a bit there, go all the way to the start. And what I want to do is I just want to lay down a kick and snare that goes over the same part in this verse over here. So you got that piano that comes in, and the drums kick in at about bar 12 there. Dark sheet on the window and I've closed the door. Cool. So it started about bar 9. We can record in a kick and snare pattern. And enable the metronome. The sun don't wake me anymore. I got a dark sheet on the window and I've closed the door. And I'm waiting out my time in Richmond. You won't find a trace of me when I'm heading north alone to be alone. Cool. So you can see it created that region over there. Now if I zoom in, you can see that MIDI note data. I'm just going to scroll, make this actually a bit smaller so I can see where we are. And maybe you can just drag here. Okay, so we've recorded in some MIDI data. And as you could hear, it was a bit loose. So let's take a look at how we can take some more advanced steps with some MIDI editing to correct this timing. If you select the grab tool, if you right click on this region, go to the region name, and then down to MIDI. Here you can see the extra advanced MIDI functionality. You can transpose the notes. If you had to select that, you can choose if it wants to go up a semitone value or octaves. It's quite handy if you've got a key switch in the song, you can transpose it up. But what I'm looking for here is quantize. This will help me tighten up the notes by moving them onto the grid. And we're looking specifically with the note start values. To tighten this up, you'll need to adjust the strength. So 100% is going to hard quantize it onto the main grid. And the main grid is the setting over here, which is set to quarter notes. Or if you wanted to, you could select a different value. Let's choose 16th notes. Even though these aren't 16 notes, I just want to choose a finer value and show you what happens. So the strength is set to 100, and you click quantize. You can see how it moved those notes together. I'm going to undo that and go again to the quantize function. Now this time, let's choose quarter notes. And the strength can still be set to 100. Now watch this. It'll change it up, taking those MIDI notes and moving them to the nearest quarter note. But that's changing up the MIDI part that I was actually using. So as you can see, you need to make sure that you've chosen the correct interval value. This will probably work with 8th notes, this pattern. So I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to go back to the region, MIDI, quantize, set it to 8th notes. Now, a nice thing about strength, 100% is going to hard quantize it onto the grid. But if you just take down the strength a slight bit, it's going to offset it a bit so it's not hard quantized onto the grid. And the nice thing about this, it sort of keeps the sort of humanization quality of the recorded in performance and just tightens up the timing. So I'm going to take this down to about 80 and quantize it. Moves those notes in. Now if you take a listen, turn the click off. Yeah, it's not too bad. So if you want to take a listen to just the drums, and then with those new drums I recorded in. I just realized I actually had that record arm enabled, so you actually weren't hearing back that original performance. So let's undo the quantizing. This is the part before it's been quantized. You can hear that's not that tight. Go to the region, MIDI, quantize, have it set to 80 strength, quantize it onto 8th notes, tightens it up. Now if you listen, much better. So that's how you add MIDI and edit the MIDI into your Mixbus sessions. Now, the strength of Mixbus really is its audio analog style mixing. So it's slightly limited with its MIDI editing and functionality capabilities. But I'm sure this is something that they'll keep adding on in future editions. But I just wanted to show you what it's capable of and how you can use it recorded MIDI so that you can add it into your sessions. For example, like this, where you want to layer a virtual drum instrument onto your drums. Cool. So that's the MIDI side of things. Next up, let's take a look at how we master our audio with the master bus. Catch you in the next video.